I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV, episode number 91. We do apologize for being AWOL last week. I had a scheduling conflict, and we could not be here to talk with you. But we're back with a great batch of comic goodness this week. And we'll start things off with last week's Top 5. First up is Earth 2, number 5 by James Robinson and Nicola Scott. Earth 2's been awesome from the beginning. Whether you're a fan of the JSA or a fan of Justice League or a fan of good comics or a fan of DC, there's something to like in this for everybody. The reason that this made my list this week, it was the most action-packed and exciting comic book that I read. I read a lot of things this week that I liked, but this one felt like it should be, like a superhero comic book should be. Lots of action, lots of color, fighting, punching, exciting stuff going on. So I really liked it.
I also really liked it. Earth 2's great. My next pick last week was Legends of the Dark Knight number 1. This is an anthology series that's just started. And the first time around, we get 3 different stories with stories written by Damien Lindelof, John Larson, and Tom Taylor. Not to be confused with Tom Taylor from Unwritten, the fictional character.
Or Tim Taylor.
Or Tiny Tim. And then we got art by Jeff Lemire, oddly enough, doing his best Paul Pope impersonation. J.G. Jones, Nicola Scott, and Wayne Faucher. Falcher.
Falker.
Wayne
I
Falker.
think is his name.
I was really surprised by this. I didn't really have high expectations, and because I wasn't overly familiar with none of these are my favorite writers. Although Lindelof has some street cred, I guess. But it was really good. I really enjoyed what they went for. I initially kind of scoffed at the first couple pages. I actually read some of them aloud in a fake Christian Bale Batman voice in the store because they just seemed a little ridiculous. But once you finish that first story, the context of it makes it all make sense. It's very, very cool. So we've got a lead story that's basically about Bruce and Alfred's relationship. We've got another story that's Bruce and one of the Robins. I think it was supposed to be Tim, but it wasn't immediately clear from my memory. And it was just so good. Like, if you like Batman, these are great little vignettes. I mean, this is one of the things I like about an anthology series. You know, it's harder to say, okay, pitch me a 6-issue Batman story, than it is to say, can you do 8 pages where Batman is awesome? All of these guys did their 8 pages where Batman's awesome, and it's absolutely worth your buck this week.
Should we bring back the awesome counter?
Sorry.
No?
It's awesome.
Okay.
I'm devaluing the word.
Next up, Amazing Spider-Man number 695 by Dan Slott and Giuseppe Camuncoli. That guy. As we roll towards Amazing Spider-Man number 700, which will be the final issue of Amazing Spider-Man, this actually is the lead-in to it. This is where you want to jump on if you want to get the full effect of issue number 700. And it's no secret that I've thoroughly enjoyed Dan Slott's run on Amazing Spider-Man. And while this book may not be the strongest in his run, there are definitely elements that make it appealing to me as a Spider-Man fan and a longtime Spider-Man fan. And one of those things is Peter is put in a situation where someone is tinkering with his powers. And we've seen this, all the way back where, suddenly he can't cling to walls anymore, and he had to get the spider buggy, and he lost his spider sense for a while. So they're monkeying with his powers here, and he just doesn't know how to cope when something goes crazy. And also because the bad guy that does this where Peter's around, he's in a civilian identity and he's around other people, it makes it very easy for some bad people to figure out who Spider-Man is. So it had a great feel of a classic 80s Spider-Man story to me, where Peter's in jeopardy. It looks like we're headed into some really bad times for Peter, and Dan Slott has said that issue 700 is just incredibly sad and bad and mad and a bunch of other words and an ad. So Amazing Spider-Man, again, it's many of you are reading it, many of you are checking it out. If you're not and you want to be on board through the end of the series and into whatever happens next, I would recommend checking issue 695 out.
The spider buggy. Also new last week, AVX 6. This is AVX Versus. Of course, the final issue of Avengers vs. X-Men, issue 12, also was on the stands. But what I really enjoyed was AVX 6. Versus has been just a series of fights, just designed to be fun, ridiculous, no thinking book. And this is the epitome. This is brilliant. As all the previous volumes have been 2 fights split up between the pages. This one we get 1 lead fight, which is a retelling or an expansion of the fight between Scarlet Witch and Hope. And then we get 9 1 to 2 page tussles that are just brilliant. You get a bunch of different creative teams, writers, artists, a bevy of different characters, and they're all just ridiculous and hilarious. And I smiled the whole time I read this book, and that is good.
I also did smile. The previous issues, as Josh said, there were 2 fights, and they were somewhat. It was just supposed to be a lot of fun, knockdown, drag out fights. And after we get through the first fight in this one, as he said, it's more comedy, especially the last one, which I really loved, with Pixie and Squirrel Girl. So it was cool. Rounding out our top 5 from last week is Daredevil End of Days #1 by 27 different people. It's actually written by Brian Michael Bendis and David Mack, with artwork by Klaus Janson, David Mack, Alex Maleev, and Bill Sienkiewicz. So normally I would complain about a lineup like this, and why do you need all these people to tell this story? But every one of these people has been involved with Daredevil over Daredevil's lengthy career, and it's nice to see some of the veterans back, like Sienkiewicz and Jansen, to contribute to the story, which is an 8-issue miniseries exploring Daredevil's last days, end of days. So it takes place at some undetermined future point, and the story starts out with a bang. I'm not going to give anything away here, but it's a pretty big eye opener. And Ben Urich is one of the central characters involved with this. He who was played by Joey Pants in the Daredevil movie, but also has been an important supporting cast member of Daredevil for decades. So it's nice to see Urich come back in. And I don't know where this is going. It's the first of an 8-issue series, and it's almost like the beginning of the book should be the end of the series, but it's not. So, longtime Daredevil fans, if you're a fan of Bendis' run, which was lengthy, I think it was 6 years that he wrote Daredevil, he collaborated with David Mack and Alex Maleev during that initial 6-year run. Those guys are back. You've got classic art by Sienkiewicz and Jansen. There's just so much Daredevil cool goodness in here, and it's Bendis doing what he does best. He's writing lengthy dialogue and good character and a good character study. So as I said, it's the first of 8 issues, and I really can't wait to see where we go next. All right, this week's best bets. This is a huge week. Huge. Plan on being at the store bright and early, 10 a.m. on Wednesday, so you don't miss out on this perfect storm of awesomeness. There it is, awesomeness. Awesome. Coming our way. So we'll start things off with Batman number 13. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo continue their reign of terror on Batman by bringing back the Joker. Now, we haven't seen the Joker in over a year, believe it or not. The last time we saw the Joker was in Detective Comics, and he had his face cut off by that guy in Detective at the time. So this is going to be a new version of the Joker with no face. I don't know. He's got something freaky going on, but it's going to be a Joker unlike any Joker we've ever seen before. And this is the first part of the Death of the Family storyline, which may result in some death. I don't know.
Possibly of the family.
But Batman fans, you don't want to miss this. If you haven't been reading Batman, this is a great place to jump on and start. So we're really excited about that. Also in the land of DC, we've got a free Arrow promo comic book. This is the tie-in to the new CW series, where they felt it necessary to remove the word green from in front of Arrow, because no one knows who that guy is, who was on Smallville for God knows how many years. So now we just have Arrow, but we get a free promo comic. Limited supplies, while supplies last. Come out and get a free promo comic of Arrow. Also, we'll be giving away free Batman buttons and some other stuff related to Batman. Maybe. I don't know.
Who knows?
Over on the other side of the aisle, we've got the big news. Marvel Now kicks off this week with Uncanny Avengers #1. by Rick Remender and John Cassaday. And if you are reading Avengers vs. X-Men, this is a must-read for you. This is the next step in that storyline, or one of the next steps. Apparently there are multiple steps, but Uncanny Avengers is a great place to jump onto if you've been reading Avengers vs. X-Men. Even if you haven't, it's Marvel Now. We will have multiple variant covers available. Again, first come, first served on those. We'll have free lithographs, buttons, posters, and a special Marvel sale going on to coincide with this. And again, all of that starts bright and early, 10 o'clock on Wednesday. Also, over in Creator-Owned Land, we have the first collected edition of Saga, which will be out this week. So that collects issue 1 through 6. Saga, as you should know by now, is one of the best things going on in comics right now. Written by Brian K. Vaughan with artwork by Fiona Staples. It's a science fiction epic, Romeo and Juliet meets Star Wars with crazy freaky stuff, and we love it. So I believe this first trade is $9.99, if I'm not mistaken.
It's possible.
I could be wrong, but even if it's not, even if it's like $29.99, it's still worth it. But it's either $9.99 or $14.99. I think it's $9.99 though.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been reading Saga in monthly issues, now is the time to pick up the collected edition.
Because Christmas is coming, and you could just stock up on those.
Could.
There's no one on your list who's okay with robot sex that does not want this book.
Except your grandmother.
Unless she's okay with robot sex, and then maybe then.
So I can give it to your grandma. Anyway, all right. So a big week coming up. Those are just a few of the big books coming out, but that should be enough. I mean, Batman 13 and Uncanny Avengers #1, blammo, awesomeness. There we go again. All right, we have a few questions that have been posted on YouTube. Let's get to those. Mr. Mike Bighead asks, Uncanny Avengers or Avengers? I'm going to go Uncanny Avengers.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
He's asking the Marvel Now books.
Uh-huh.
Which would we prefer, Uncanny Avengers or regular Avengers? Regular Avengers is, if I'm not mistaken, again, also written by Rick Remender, I think.
I'm going to go with Avengers. But the real answer is they're like $4. I can read them both.
Yeah. All right. He also asks, Justice League or Justice League of America? And this refers to the little preview that we had last month with a new ongoing series called Justice League of America that starts early next year, written by Jeff Johns, artwork by David Finch, maybe? Which looks like a C-B list team of Justice Leaguers.
Well, this is the government-sponsored team, presumably, since Steve Trevor's on there.
Yes. With Martian Manhunter and Catwoman and some other people. Versus the existing Justice League series right now, also written by Jeff Johns. Which do you prefer?
I'm going to go with Justice League of America because it's the only Justice League team with vibe.
Yes, vibe. I'm going to go with Justice League proper because I have no idea what Justice League of America is going to be about or whether I'm going to like it or not. So
Jeff Johns.
I will be back in January or February to give you an update on that. We also got a great question from Rob asking which new up-and-coming artists have impressed us the most this year. And Rob, thank you for writing in. We like that question so much, we're actually going to do a special episode devoted just to answering that question somewhere down the road because it'll take up all of our time to talk about and show the artwork properly and that sort of thing. So we will get to that question, and thank you for asking it. As always, keep the questions coming. We will get to them. We do like reading them. Other people do too, believe it or not. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon at Alter Ego Comics.